Here we go again. Another guy. I mean, now this guy made a mistake. He admits he made a mistake 10 years ago. This is a columnist for the Washington Post with the headline, I once made fun of UFOs. Now the United States government is giving me second thoughts. Okay, this guy's John Kelly. Okay, a columnist for the Washington Post. This is why we don't get anywhere because this guy, this idiot, never even investigated this. He doesn't do anything. He stands there and writes press releases all these years for the Pentagon. There's no investigation into it. All other people are going independent investigators over the years. Timothy Good, okay, Richard Dolan, independent investigators. Stanton Friedman, Jim Mars, Thomas Carey, Donald Schmidt, Kevin Randall, independent investigators over time. Jeremy Corbell, George Knapp, independent investigators. It takes independent investigators. This guy just sits on his duff in Washington, writing columns for the Washington Post, talking about subjects in which he knows nothing about. He just sits there and he's just an armchair theorist. He knows nothing. And this guy is writing for the Washington Post, one of the most widely read newspapers in the entire country, if not the world. Okay, this guy, John Kelly, he's there, and he's still, now he's starting to admit, oh, maybe he made a mistake, but the column is written like it's a joke. It's still a joke to this guy. Okay, suddenly all of Washington seems like a scene from a Hollywood film. No, the film isn't Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. It isn't even National Treasure. Space aliens may be responsible for the mood that currently grips the Capitol, but the movie isn't The Day the Earth Stood Still either. The movie is Galaxy Quest, the 1999 Star Trek send-up, and the scene is the one where a disillusioned sci-fi fanboy, played by Justin Long, gets a call from TV spaceship captain Tim Allen, who tells Long it was all real after all. Oh my God, I knew it, exclaims Long. I knew it. Yup. Our government now says extraterrestrials could be joyriding around our planet. UFOs could be real, except we're not supposed to call them UFOs. The new term is UAPs, unidentified aerial phenomena. Oh God, this guy. Okay, it turns out the Pentagon had a secret office investigating reports of unexplained objects. Politicians have demanded answers, and a report is due any day now. Military pilots not known for flights of fancy have been on 60 Minutes describing their close encounters. Frankly, the cockpit videos have been pretty disappointing. The ghostly lozenges, saucers, and spinning pyramids look more like Pong than Xbox, but the Top Guns seem pretty astounded. All of this puts me in an awkward spot. In 2010, I attended a news conference at the National Press Club where ufologists claimed that alien spaceships had been systematically hovering over our country's nuclear missile silos. The column I wrote about it fairly dripped with contempt. After every outlandish claim, I inserted a prissy After my column ran, a reader from Castro Valley, California, emailed me writing, when the truth really comes out about the military and others have lied to the American public for over the past 60 years about the existence of ETs, the members of the press like yourself will be asking themselves, where were we all this time? Rereading my column now kind of makes me cringe. I'll tell you what, buddy. Reading this column right now kind of makes me cringe. Don't write anything. Why even write anything, right? How about doing some investigative reporting, or get somebody at the Washington Post do it for you, because it doesn't seem like you're able to do anything except write nonsense. Because that's what this is, nonsense. What you wrote here. It turns out that UFO people. No. There's people who are who live in reality, and then there's people who live in some kind of a fantasy land. That's this Kelly. That you're living in fantasy, okay, buddy? You never did any research. Read a book. Read a book. You want to find out what's going on? Read some books. Okay, there's historical books out there like UFOs in a National Security State, volumes 1 and 2 by Richard M. Dolan. You get a history lesson on what's been going on for the last 70 plus years. Huh? How about that? Or how about some of the books on Roswell? Written by Thomas Carey and Donald Schmidt. How about reading some of them? How about educating yourself on a subject before you go spewing nonsense on a platform like the Washington Post for decades, apparently? Okay, then he goes on here. We'll read this nonsense here. It turns out that UFO people, the people who believe in UFOs, have really good memories. 2 years after that first column, I wrote one about the so-called Washington Flap of 1952. That's when unidentified flying objects were picked up on Reagan National Airport's radar. The craft were supposedly spotted by Captain S.C. Casey Pierman of Capital Air Flight 807, who told the airport's tower he saw 6 bright lights streaking across the sky like falling stars without tails. F-94 jets were scrambled from Delaware's Newcastle Air Force Base, but those pilots saw nothing. The following weekend, the radar blips were back. This time, an Air Force pilot did see them. I tried to make contact with the bogies, but below 1,000 feet, pilot William Patterson told investigators. I was at my maximum speed, but I ceased chasing them because I saw no chance of overtaking them. A headline on the front page of the Washington Post read, Saucer outran jet, pilot says. The Air Force said that a temperature inversion, a layer of cold air trapped under a layer of warm air, had tricked the radar. See, even back then, even back in the 50s, the Washington Post obviously wasn't doing his job on this subject. They just, it was just they're telling us it was a layer of cold air, even though this guy saw a saucer. But they're telling us it was a layer of cold air. Where was the investigation? There was a guy back then by the name of Donald Kehoe, again, independent investigator, who was writing books on the subject, talking to people in the military about this, right? In the Air Force, at the Pentagon. He was like one of the only people back then doing serious investigations, while people at the Washington Post, just like this guy here, John Kelly, sat around doing nothing, pontificating on things they know nothing about. Nothing. Okay. Anyway, the Air Force said that a temperature inversion, a layer of cold air trapped under a layer of warm air, had tricked their radar. In other words, no aliens. I wrote that asking whether there were any alien spacecraft over Washington in 1952 was like asking whether there were any witches in Salem, Massachusetts in 1692. This prompted another letter to the editor. The Post continues to allow a columnist whose bias on unidentified flying objects has been revealed in previous articles to write on the subject. Okay, I'll take one further here. Not only his bias, but his complete, absolute, unadulterated ignorance. His absolute ignorance. This guy is ignorant, completely ignorant. Has no business writing on a platform like the Washington Post about a subject he knows nothing about. Writing nonsense. He's comparing the situation to some comedy, some comedy science fiction movie. With Tim Allen. That's what he's talking. That's how he looks. That's how he sees it. That's how he thinks things are gonna be. I guess that's how dopey this guy is. Okay, then this idiotic column goes on. Well, today the official U.S. government position is basically, we're not saying these things are proof that aliens exist, but we're not saying that either. But we're not saying that either. Should I be eating crow? Not necessarily. Okay, he's still an ass. The guy's still a total, complete jackass, uneducated, has no business writing columns for the Washington Post on subjects like this. Okay, let's read this again. Should I be eating crow? Not necessarily. Not necessarily. Recently in the New Republic, writer Jason Covolino profiled some of the leading boosters of UAP scholarship. Some of these folks had some pretty weird beliefs, including that these craft aren't piloted by extraterrestrials or Chinese drone operators, but by interdimensional demons. It's enough to make me long for the less controversial topic of whether Bigfoot is real. Look at how funny I am, everybody out in the whole wide world. Look at how funny my column is. It's not funny at all. It's cringe-worthy. It's disgusting. It's uneducated. It's dumb, and it's in the Washington Post. The Washington Post. You're a disgrace. You don't have any. You're a total disgrace when it comes to this subject. This is the biggest story we've ever had, and for over 70 years, it's been getting covered up, and you sat there and did nothing. Nothing. Okay. Still, there was something prescient that the Castro Valley letter writer, who in 2010 predicted that the members of the press like yourself will be asking themselves, where were we all this time? I should probably be more open-minded and less snarky, and I will never again underestimate the power of the UFO people who live the motto of Galaxy Quest's fictitious space captain, never give up, never surrender. Again, I mean, this is absolutely a disgrace. It's a disgraceful column to be in a publication like the Washington Post on a subject that's extremely serious. See, this clown For one thing, he's obviously never read a book on the subject. Obviously, this guy's a complete goof. Basically, he's been writing any kind of information out of the whatever the Pentagon's told him over the course of his entire career. He just basically wrote press releases on it. Didn't do anything else, because this guy's as useless as tits on a bull moose when it comes to the UFO subject, and he has no business writing articles about it, writing columns about it in the Washington Post, because it's on a subject he knows nothing about, and he's still. I mean, this is absolutely. I mean, I didn't read his previous column from 10 years, the one that makes him cringe now, but this is cringe-worthy. He should be cringing right now. The whole management and ownership of the Washington Post should be cringing right now. This ridiculous. What a joke. Again, total absolute joke when it comes to this subject. The way the mainstream media, with all the money they have and all the power, they could have uncovered this stuff a long time ago. They could have got the truth out a long time ago if they would have, put some good investigative reporters on it. It took decades and decades of independent researchers to get what we do have, the knowledge that we do have about it out there. And then you have clowns like this who come along and just make a complete joke out of a very serious subject. I mean, there are extraterrestrials coming here. They've been coming here. There's a faction within the government, whether it's Majestic 12 or something like a Majestic 12, that is in charge of this, maintaining this secrecy. And the Washington Post has done nothing about it. They're complicit. They're complicit, and this guy is just, I don't know. I just can't believe that this is allowed. Like, how could this guy have a job at the Washington Post writing drivel like this? This is garbage. This is absolute garbage. It's disgusting, and actually, the Washington Post should be ashamed of itself right now. That's what I got to say. That's all I have to say about this. The Washington Post, you should be ashamed of yourself. This Kelly, this guy is a complete joke.